Seems like there are more scenes of Karen, at least in the trailer, than there are of Foggy. So maybe something happens to him earlier on in the series.
Also, when we see them in the trailer, they're very happy, and happiness does not bode well in the MCU. They're like crossing the street, like, ha ha ha! Look at us, we're on top of the world, and then they both get flattened by dropping pianos.
Welcome back to the break room. I love the smell of Daredevil in the morning. Smells sweaty and bloody. Yeah, that's right. It's a morning Daredevil trailer drop reaction here on the break room. We are excited. We got our first official peek at Daredevil Born Again. Certain lucky ones amongst us have maybe seen some peeks at different conventions and D23s. But for the broad public, our first look at the show. Our first trailer, very exciting. It comes out just a little over a month, March 4th. We're not that far away from this show coming out.
Yeah.
I'm Zach Huddleston, thrlled to be here today. Thrilled to have all my joints currently working and not snapped in half.
We'll see by the end of the show.
That's right. Gina, no! Thrilled to be here with the newly elected mayor of New York. It's Erik Voss.
Random tiger roar.
Oh, I want to talk about that. And we know she's crossed a line. It's Gina Ippolito.
I'm crossing lines right now that you guys don't even know about.
What?
What does that mean?
Wait and see. Wait and see what I do to Zach's joints later.
Oh my God.
Is there a Rube Goldberg device set up that's just like in progress, working its way around the studio?
Gina going real Jeff Galooly over here.
Oh,
And
good
with
shout
the boobs
out.
kicking Zach in the shin.
That's right. Taking me out. I'll never win gold medal now. Okay. Well, let's get right into it. We have a lot to talk about. We'll be answering your questions. We have our own thoughts, questions, theories we're going to get into. But first, let's watch this trailer in its entirety.
Crunch. Oh, it's so crunchy. So many crunches.
It's so bloody.
The Foley work, the amount of heads of cabbage that were ripped in half.
I mean, that was one of the awesome things about the original was like just the set, like because you had to feel like you were mad. Every crunch and punch and drip and plop was like boom.
That's right. Yeah.
Some very tactile shots of violence there, just in the trailer. We can imagine what will take place over the 10 episodes of the show.
And as you put in our Slack this morning, the devil's work is never done. Hell of a tagline.
Yeah, great tagline. The marketing on the show, they know exactly what they want viewers to expect.
It's great.
Know?
I'm very excited.
And I think they had a high threshold to clear. I mean, so much of the MCU just feels so sanitized, and that is what people loved about the Netflix era of the show. It's just how brutally violent it was, the texture of the show, the aesthetics of the show, the violence of the show, and like. That's what I think a lot of people have been missing from the MCU is that extreme violence, and they're not even trying to hide it here. Like they know what type of show.
They're selling it on that, right?
Yeah.
This is the main selling point of this is like brutal, gross fights. Right?
I mean, they're clearly appealing to fans of the original shows. If you haven't seen it, you still have time to go back. I mean, you've got a month before it comes out. Erik, Jess, and I are in our rewatch right now because there's gonna be some breakdowns coming out. But highly recommend you go back and watch those 3 seasons and Defenders because. They're good.
Well, Defenders, we might also have to look at Punisher because Frank Castle's part of this show.
I love them all.
So I want to start with some of the faces we see in this trailer.
Yeah.
Obviously, first and foremost, sitting, having coffee in a classic New York diner. That diner reminds me of...
Fisk was drinking tea. There's a tea bag in there.
Good point. Good point. He's off a caffeine.
Yeah, he's like, I was a little too high strung.
Or maybe the meeting at 4 p.m. and it's, past when you'd be drinking
Yeah.
coffee.
He's like, I don't want to be all jittery all night.
But it also reminded me, I mean, it's such a dumb reference, but like, you ever see that Andrew Garfield musical, Tick, Tick, Boom?
Yeah.
Half of it takes place in a diner that looks exactly like that. There might have been the same one.
Yeah, it's the same diner as what's in Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, where she turns around. Said, he said it's that, like, that is the diner that he worked at. right? It's
That,
in the
that
Moonlight
classic
Diner.
kind of like dining car style, right? Diner.
In Tick Tick Boom, it's where half of like Broadway's legends cameo in that scene.
Yes.
Yeah, it's what everyone thinks of when they think of a stereotypical New York diner.
Yes,
I think.
very much. But like in addition to Kingpin and Daredevil, Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock there, we see some familiar faces. Karen and Foggy.
Looking good.
Looking good, though not a lot of Karen and Foggy. I want to come back to that, what that could mean. Of course, John Barenthal's Punisher. We get a very brief glimpse of Bullseye.
Yeah.
Getting led, shackled out of some kind of a prison situation. There we go. And then some new faces. New for this series, Muse, who we'll talk about here in a moment. And then White Tiger has not appeared in the Netflix series, right?
They got similar masks. Why didn't they?
Yes.
Their masks are too similar.
Very different characters.
It's the color grading. Muse's mask has red streaks on it. White Tiger is like white and black.
That's right. Yeah, this image, they look similar, but I think they'll appear very different. Plus, Muse has like kind of some droogy, he's got some
suspenders.
He
and
looks like a 70s mime, a French mime.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he's inspired by Banksy, and this comes from like the 2016 Charles Soule run of Daredevil comics, where Muse is a serial killer who does these like grotesque displays using blood of his victims in the artwork, and sometimes using their body parts and sculptures. It's pretty extreme, and I think they're carrying that over in the show. Muse is a really cool villain, and what I love right now is we don't know who plays Muse. Like, we know pretty much everyone in the show. We don't know who's playing Muse. And we see this person's eyes through the cutout eye holes in the mask. I'm not up to date on my detective work on everyone's eyes. I'm better at noticing teeth than I am eyes, weirdly. But I can't figure out who this is, and maybe we'll find out in the coming weeks.
Maybe it's Banksy.
Maybe they actually got him.
The past 2 years, they were spray painting everywhere where they could. Like, Banksy, will you take this acting role?
I think if Banksy ever took money from Disney, he would stop being Banksy and he would be Mr. Brainwash.
Also, we'll know if it's a pudgy British man playing Muse, and it will become very obvious. Well, and that presents a unique opportunity because there could be a double dip there. Muse could be portrayed by an actor who we already know is in the show playing another role as well.
Oh.
It's Foggy.
Potentially.
Foggy became Muse.
I mean, they could do something crazy like that. You never know. Well, and we'll come back to it. Some of the other quick shots we get. Michael Gandolfini is in this show.
Yeah.
The real-life son of James Gandolfini, Tony Soprano. We see a single shot of him kind of walking down a sidewalk. He's playing a character that's not from the comic books, new for this show, that is working for Wilson Fisk, we are told. Potential there.
Daniel Blade, I believe is the character's name, and is his like communications director or his campaign manager. You got to imagine, like, obviously, they're painting Wilson Fisk in this Mayor Fisk run. And Mayor Fisk is like a current run by Charles Soule that is being published by Marvel Comics right now. This is not like a classic Daredevil storyline. It is something that like Disney is also kind of like weighing on the storyline of, and it's it's like kind of also happening at the same time that they know what the storyline of Born Again is going to be, so they're just writing the comic series to fit in with that a little bit. He is based on like classic, political wins that are happening right now of strongmen who are running for mayors, presidents, governors, and are not trying to hide the fact that they are aggressively macho guys who aren't afraid to take you outside.
And to be fair, it's not even necessarily that current, because there's a 100-year history of mob-tied New York City mayors.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that goes back a long time, almost since there's been New York City mayors.
Yeah.
There have been mayors tied up in organized crime to one degree or another. So it's like, there's both historic and current precedent there.
Yeah, so you got to imagine Michael Gandolfini is also kind of someone or he's playing a character who also idolizes Wilson Fisk and also isn't afraid to punch a reporter or like strong arm a reporter into reporting something. So, I think we're all kind of curious, maybe not all of us, but I'm curious how the Echo series has set up this show, because like they gave Wilson Fisk this crazy augmented reality technology of optic nerve implants where he used it for Maya Lopez to be able to translate ASL into words that he understands, and they had like voice voiceovers that he could hear, and it translated.
Yeah.
But I feel like that could be expanded into all kinds of things that would be very dangerous for someone in the mayor's office of New York to use if he could expand it out on a citywide level. And there were all kinds of crazy shots in this trailer, specifically in Times Square on New Year's Eve, of the Pim Van Dyne Corporation that like sponsored this New Year's Eve celebration. They're all wearing these top hats and beanies that are sponsored by Hope Van Dyne's company. And is there going to be some like tech company subplot where like weirdly the Hope Van Dyne company or organization has like sponsored parts of New York, and then like Wilson Fisk is trying to get the tech companies out to supplant it with his own technology?
It's like Google Glass. Like every New Year's Eve top hat is an augmented reality Google Glass
and
type of thing.
again, the real life, it's usually like Planet Fitness or something like that sponsors all the free hats that they give out to the people in Times Square. That's kind of funny. Great, you've already noticed something I didn't notice there, Erik. That's great. Or when it hits midnight, will all the hats dramatically shrink and pop everybody's heads?
Yeah. I mean, that's what they would do if it was like Batman and like the Penguin, right?
Yes.
Like you'd be like, oh, big celebration, here's hats. And then, just decapitates everyone right at the stroke of midnight.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff I want to get to. Some other things we've noticed, some great lines, some other faces popping up. But are there some people throwing in super chats or making comments on Twitch or YouTube, Evan?
Yeah, lots of people tuning in. Maud Garrett, of course, in the chat saying hi. The Red Phoenix 7 on Twitch giving out 5 gift subs. Thank you so much. And Rennick Oakley sending in a super chat saying, I'm so excited. Also, OG composer John Paisano teaming up with X-Men 97's The Newton Brothers. Awesome time to be a budding film composer. Love from Australia.
Oh, yeah. And Paisano did the music for the original series,
Yeah,
too.
I'm not sure if he's officially back for this one, but obviously they did, reference the score. They basically kind of covered it in the trailer.
That original, the
it's
work
great.
he does in the original is so good.
I think the Newton brothers might know new Rockstars because Ron Wasserman, and there's another guy who's like a music YouTuber who reached out to us, and I met him outside AMC Burbank, and he was like, hey, I'm friends with Ron Wasserman. We showed him a shout out in one of your videos, and he's very grateful. And I'm like, well, I'm grateful to him for composing such sick scores. And then he sent me like an Instagram story of them with one of the Newton brothers at like a pub in Sherman Oaks. I was like, are you guys still there? Like, he's like, hey, we're just all hanging out. So the Newton brothers, shout out to you guys for also doing great work. And let us know what needs to happen so that Haim Saban stops getting the credit for what Ron Wasserman created. Just because Saban had like whatever. I'm just so annoyed that they had to credit Saban for these scores in the trailers or in the credits of like X-Men 97 because he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't there. I was a little baby when Power Rangers and X-Men 97 were coming out, but I just feel like they just got, I don't know.
Score justice. We need it. Other shout outs, comments?
Yeah, lots of questions coming in. So maybe we should give a shout out to one of our sponsors today first, and then we'll get to that.
Great. We want to shout out. I've had a tiny one here in front of me, but I've got 2 whole boxes here too. It's a busy time of year. It can be a stressful time of year. We're coming out of a busy holiday season. We've got our new year kicking off. Things are going on in the world. We're waking up early to break down Daredevil trailers. And sometimes in these hectic times, it can be hard to prioritize your mental wealth. Not health. I'm talking about wealth. The equity you accrue mentally. And that's where our good friends at Magic Mind come in. We reached out to them, actually, about sponsoring the show because we are fans of their product. They sent us 2 different of their Magic Mind products. Their sleep product that helps you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer, and their Sharper Mind, kind of their focus daytime product, of which I have one right here. I'm going to pop it. I've been drinking these.
Oh my God, I want one. I want a Sharper Mind.
Nice. You'll notice a difference in Gina and I for the rest of the show. It's like
so much energy.
We were giving you B- at best for the first 15 minutes, and now it's about to be A++.
I had to find out this way.
And honestly, I sometimes I can have a lot of like anxiety thoughts going through my mind. At night, their sleep formula has been great. I've been waking up refreshed. I kind of fall asleep faster. It's been really helpful. I've been using it the last 3 nights and have been feeling good. And I plan on sticking with both of these products, my little morning and my little evening. What a routine! You too can also check out Magic Mind. we got a little URL right there on screen, magicmind.com/breakroom. Again, you can try out both of these, or maybe if there's one particular thing. Again, I like this. The daytime one is a nice either supplement to your coffee, your tea, your energy drink, or a replacement if you're looking in the new year to consume a little less of that stuff and a little bit more of this. It's got the vitamins, the B2s, the B3s, the B12s, the B-nices.
Got a lot of potassium. What cute little bottles, too.
And the cute little bottles. And they taste good. We got a little mini fridge in the office that is about 42% Magic Mind at this point. But to get an exclusive 45% discount on a Magic Mind Focus and Sleep Bundle pack, just click on the link that is currently on screen or will be in the description of this video and make 2025 the year you build your mental wealth and mental resilience with Magic Mind. Thank you, Magic Mind, for sponsoring the show.
Also, you check out the merch on nerdriot.shop.
Okay,
You see,
Erik and I
yeah.
are wearing our, what's the name of this? It's like Crime and Punishment, I think is the name of this shirt. But we got half Daredevil, half Punisher here.
I think it's Justice and Punishment.
Justice and Punishment,
Oh,
yes.
I just realized that Evan and I match, and you guys match.
Okay,
right.
twins on twins.
Twins on
Kind of
twins.
Foursquare tournament going on here.
And we also have a Kingpin inspired design. I think we have an asset for that.
Oh, wow, that was quick.
We saw that exact image in the trailer. That might be even like Muse's little graffiti there with the weird split face. And we got some other designs coming down the pipe. Keep an eye out for those to be plugged on various channels soon. You'll want to be wearing that for that premiere dropping March 4th.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Have your premiere party, all your themed snacks.
Yes.
I don't know what Daredevil dogs.
Wow, love that.
By the end of this broadcast, there'll be 5 more snack puns.
Yes, we promise.
Yes. King Pickles.
Ooh,
okay,
King
okay.
Pickles. White Tiger. Nope, got nothing.
White Claw Tiger.
all right.
Oh, yeah, you're drinking
there
White
we
Claw
go.
Tigers. That's right.
I got 2. I'm winning.
I should get the roar as a random sound bite,
You should.
soundboard bite, and just being like, play
Yeah.
the roar.
Can we talk
generally.
about that
Someone has a
real
hot
quick? So that we hear
Zach
a
wants to jump
roar
right into the roar.
while the camera is on Matt Murdock punching a baddie or whatever.
Yeah.
Now,
Clearly, the cameraman is a tiger.
Yeah.
or the bad guy was a tiger? Is he beating up wild animals?
There was a tiger on set that day, and they couldn't remove it.
Tiger
from the
It's
POV.
funny because this show, we saw an image in the trailer. The show will feature a character, White Tiger, who's another vigilante operating in New York, kind of in a shared space with Daredevil. But he's not in that scene, as far as we know. Also, as far as we know, he doesn't roar like an actual
No,
white
he's got one of
tiger.
those like fart buttons, but he replaced the fart with a roar. He's
Or is
like-
it just like, we need a badass sound effect right here? You know what's badass? A tiger roar?
I think maybe they did it just for this, just to be like, let's confuse them.
Yeah, throw them off.
I think the audio editor was like, let's convey some rage happening in this moment.
Well, and
like
there-
you can put a tiger roar anywhere.
There are
And
definitely
true.
some other good rage sounds throughout the trailer.
Let's get some random tiger roars throughout this break room.
Meow. Okay. Yeah, Evan.
me.
All right. So I like this earlier comment on Twitch from the Captain 5533 saying, my theory is Kingpin is actually rehabilitated and not a bad guy anymore. Kind of like how Matt is in Daredevil, but both will get pulled back in throughout the season and could be reborn as their true selves.
I
think that's
like
in
this theory because in Echo we saw her soul heal him.
yeah.
Like
true,
she was like, I'm gonna go inside you and heal your trauma. And he was like, whoa, what did you do to me? So that was like the last we saw of it. Timeline wise, that's the last thing we know. It's
Yeah.
like he got healed. But if someone comes and kills Vanessa, he'll be unhealed in a second.
That's
I
true.
also just feel like if you run for mayor of New York, you're not a good person. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you run for it, but if you win the mayor's
win-
seat of
yeah.
New York, you're automatically just a bad person. I'm sorry. That's too much power. It corrupts you immediately.
I think a paragon of goodness, Rudy Giuliani, would beg to differ.
Currently indicted Eric Adams. Also not a great example there.
well,
It's a tough city, you guys.
I did
Bloomberg,
want to
de
use
Blasio,
that.
all power corrupts at that point. You can't be good. You're just by
Yeah.
definition not good.
Well, I did want to use that to bring us to our big point too in the trailer, the line that really caught my attention and caught ours collectively. A line was crossed. We hear Matt say that in response to Kingpin. What do you think that means? A line was crossed and he stopped being a vigilante, right?
We've been talking about that in the office. I'd love to hear what the chat, any super chatters or commenters are saying. We've been talking because we left season 3 on Netflix. Daredevil in a good place.
Yeah, Fisk was imprisoned for the second time. And Matt, Foggy, and Karen were restarting their law firm as Nelson, Murdoch, and Page. And it was sort of like an ending. Like it was sort of like, oh, Matt did what he wanted to do. He got the biggest threat to New York out of New York. He had also sort of like defeated the Hand, which is like a Defenders thing. So yeah, it was sort of like, oh, now he can just live. Now he can live his life.
And in his appearances since then, we've seen him in No Way Home, very brief, not really doing any crime fighting, catching bricks.
And practicing law. So he clearly.
And then prominently featured in She-Hulk, knocking boots.
Yeah.
That's right.
He's living his best life. He's practicing law. He's boning down.
Yes, and then he had a brief encounter with Echo in Echo, right?
That's right.
A little fight scene there.
Back to fighting in that one.
So in theory, any line that has caused him to hang up the little devil hat has happened in between those appearances and the start of this show.
Yeah, I think there's like, we were talking about potentially the option of, he was fighting criminals and one of them slipped off a building and they died. In that shot in the trailer of the cowl falling in slow motion, that is outside Josie's bar. So you can see Josie's down there. So something
like
happened.
The horn being knocked off hints at the end of a violent interaction.
Yeah.
Right? Like somebody has punched a horn off of him.
Right, making a D shape. So now he just feels it's just devil, not a daredevil. And he feels like he's damned to hell for letting that happen. I don't know how you want to interpret this. It's either that or he's so traumatized by the events of She-Hulk when he was at that barbecue and Hulk's son, Scar, showed up. And the line that was crossed was the hairline. And it was crossed all the way back to the back of the head. And it freaked him out. And he's like, I don't want to be a superhero in this world if I might have to team up with that freak.
Well, and it makes me think of another line that was kind of tossed off at the beginning of the trailer, but to me is also really interesting. Fisk says to him, looks like you've come up in the world. Which, okay, I mean, to me, he looks the exact same he's always looked. Usually when somebody says you've come up in the world, like you've gotten a promotion, you're making more money, your status has been raised in some way. What do you think Fisk is referring to when he tells Matt Murdock, it looks like you've come up in the world?
To me, what's striking about that scene is Fisk looks like he's come down in the world to me. Like seriously, there's a great sequence in season 1 where they show you his morning routine and he's making himself an omelet and everything is the best. And then he puts on the best suit. And here his suit's a little less expensive. It's a little rumpled. He looks a little more everyday politician as opposed to super villain. And he's drinking tea with just a regular tea bag in it.
Doing lots of finger stuff.
Yeah.
He's doing lots of hands and fingers.
Always doing that. And in season 1 of the OG Daredevil, Matt had a crappy law firm with a paper sign. And his only client was Karen, who didn't pay them. She was like, "I'll pay you in working for you," and that was it. Their client. And then since then, we've seen he's represented Peter Parker. He's represented the costumer in She-Hulk. So Matt is dressed better. He's wearing sort of a more tailored suit.
He's a legitimate firm now.
He has a legitimate firm. Also, Charlie Cox has aged like a fine wine, you guys. That is an attractive man. And he has stayed attractive. So I don't think it's too much of a stretch for Fisk to be like, hey, retirement seems to have agreed with you.
Yeah, it's interesting. Would this world have remembered, Matt Murdock defending Peter Parker after Doctor Strange's memory wipe spell? I would think anything revolving about Peter Parker's public persona or his reputation would probably be erased from people's memories. So including any paperwork that would be filed at the courthouse or with the feds over the, DODC v. Parker, and Hogan. So that probably wouldn't be what he's referring to. But yeah, I think arguing about the merits of the Sokovia Accords with She-Hulk in Los Angeles might be a pretty high-profile thing for Matt Murdock to have done, to be like a bi-coastal superhero or vigilante.
Maybe he's made some headlines. Maybe he's kind of a known lawyer.
Yeah, maybe he argued in front of the Supreme Court defending Red Hulk.
They got to pay his travel fee anytime he gets on a plane. They got to fly in first class, pay that travel fee.
Hey, Evan jumping in to say one of our sponsors this week is Prolon L Nutra. Prolon's fasting Mimicking Diet is a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making cells believe they're fasting. I ate so much delicious garbage during the holidays, and Prolon's 5-day fasting program is the perfect way to kickstart my health for 2025, with benefits like fat loss, enhanced skin appearance, and improved energy. Plus, it's easy to start. If you purchase a Prolon 5-day kit, you gain free access to the January Fasting Challenge. Groups start every Sunday in January, so you can start when it works for you. Prolon's January Fasting Challenge is a coach-led program to set you up for the fasting success. And the 5-day program includes snacks, soups, and beverages designed to keep your body in a fasting state, no guesswork or planning required. Prolon also provides motivation and guidance from longevity and nutrition coaches so you can successfully complete your fast. The program was researched and developed for decades at USC's Longevity Institute and is backed by leading US medical centers. Ready to make 2025 your healthiest year yet? Order your Prolon 5-day kit at prolonlife.com/breakroom and join in on their fasting challenge today. New groups start every Sunday in January. Plus, Prolon is offering the Breakroom listeners 15% off their 5-day nutrition program for your post-holiday glow up when you go to prolonlife.com/breakroom. And we also want to thank Mando. You've heard about them, you love them, and if you finished last year thinking, I should really smell better or smell like Zach Huddleston, and you're currently looking for an easy way to do that, well, Mando's for you. Mando's whole body deodorant comes in 3 forms: invisible spray, solid stick, and invisible cream. It's clinically proven, 72-hour odor control, so it's perfect for long days at the office, or if you're like me, you play tennis in the morning and you run around town like a little freak. Since using Mando, I've had 100% less meetings with HR about how I'm stinking up the joint. Thanks for that, Berg. Mando stops odor before it starts, and it's safe to use on your entire body, pits, package, feet, and everywhere in between. Mando comes in 4 cologne quality scents: Bourbon Leather, Mount Fuji Pro Sport, and Clover Woods. I'm a solid stick bourbon leather on the pits kind of person myself, but you can choose whatever good smell you like to cover up your stinkiest area. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. We all love that. It's a special offer for listeners. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code that equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code BREAKROOM at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them the Break Room sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Back to the show.
Evan, do people have some theories on what the line crossing could be?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of hedging, are thinking the same way that a lot of us in the office were thinking about, like Karen, something happening to Karen and Foggy. Yeah, Karen, something happening to Karen and Foggy. Seems like there are more scenes of Karen, at least in the trailer, than there are of Foggy. So maybe something happens to him earlier on in the series.
Also, when we see them in the trailer, they're very happy, and happiness does not bode well in the MCU. They're like crossing the street, like, look at us. We're on top of the world, and then they both get flattened by dropping pianos.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a line was crossed by dueling, dropping pianos.
And all you heard is a tiger roar when they fell.
It's a real slapstick show. You wouldn't guess that from the trailer.
Yeah,
that's interesting. And there's been a lot of speculation online that one of the Karen Foggy, right, his 2 closest friends, right, might get knocked off, maybe by Muse, maybe by somebody else, right? And that is kind of... Now, it would be interesting that would push him away from vigilantism instead of towards it to, like, get justice for them, right? You would think that's the language he speaks is, like, I go get the bad guys and I beat them up, not like, oh, a bad guy got my friend, so I'm done, right?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I could also see a big part of, like, the first series was how he struggled with whether he was going to cross this line. Like, he had a lot of deep conversations with the priest where he was like, sometimes I'm just punching him and I keep on punching him. So to me, it seems more likely that he accidentally killed someone with his, like, rage that he did not mean to, and he was, like, wailing on them. Than you know, like one of them dying. Now, I'm not saying that one of them won't die during the series.
And that could be what pulls him back into vigilantism,
that's true.
Yeah.
I think that's more likely. Like, the line was crossed by him, and then something is going to pull him back in, and it's going to be Fisk shutting Foggy's head in a door 22 times.
It's going to be, man, the reaction if one of them dies in the pilot episode.
Yeah.
To me, it almost feels like Maria Hill dying all over again.
Oh,
because,
God,
like, for them to bring back this beloved show and to kill off Eldon Henson or Deborah Ann Wool's characters in the pilot episode, like for Marvel and Disney to reclaim this show basically and to end their stories. I think both those characters went on full arcs in those 3 seasons.
Yeah,
it's not that I need a huge future for Foggy Nelson in the MCU, but man, it's gonna hit hard.
I also think
happens.
from a writing standpoint, it's much smarter to like kill them off in the penultimate episode because seriously, like let's say if you're gonna kill Foggy, you have to assume that some people have not and will not watch that original series. So if you kill him in the pilot, it's gonna be like, kid from the Mighty Ducks died? Was he in the Mighty Ducks? I think he was in the Mighty Ducks.
He was.
They killed the Mighty Ducks guy. Like, they're not gonna be like, oh, I spent three seasons on some offshoots with this character. I know that he's Matt's longest running friend from college and blah, 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 blah. And they went through this whole arc. I think that they have to build it up again. I think that they sort of have to nod to fans of the original, but if they kill them off in the pilot, I don't think it'll have the same effect as if they like spend 8 episodes being like, this is the one person these are 2 people he can trust.
How many more people, like I feel like at least 80% of the watchers of this show watched some of the Netflix show. Maybe not all of it, but at least maybe watched season 1.
It was popular, yeah.
I think the numbers on that show might historically end up being better than what the Disney Plus thing is, just because of subscriber count.
And the show's been on Disney Plus now for a while.
That's right.
That's true, but there are some weird purists that I think might have waited to see, because I remember whenever I used to do my Marvel rewatch, I would inevitably have friends and strangers being like, why are you watching the Netflix shows? They're not considered canon. And then there might be some weird MCU purists who are like, I'm not watching any of these until they're officially in.
Also, just volume-wise, it's a lot to get through.
It is.
Right? It's a lot more, like you could watch most of the films in the amount of time it would take you to watch all of the Netflix episodes.
It's a lot.
Right?
It is a lot. But like, that's what we've been discussing is like, what are we going to do a breakdown of? Because Daredevil does show up on Jessica Jones, but Jessica Jones hasn't been canonized yet, and Punisher is a crossover.
Well, that's a great point. We see Frank Castle in the trailer. We know Punisher's going to be in the show. Do we see Luke Cage or Jessica Jones or Iron Fist?
I'm personally saying I would love it. I would even love Iron Fist in there. I would love all of them so much. And those original series were so intertwined. A lot by the character of Claire, who was like the nurse that took care of Matt, and then like hooked up with Luke Cage and was taking care of sort of everyone. But to me, they're so intertwined. And then when you get into the Defenders, they're obviously intertwined. I would love it if we saw even a nod to them. I think that first season of Jessica Jones is so perfect. I would love it if even you just saw some like nod to her.
We already have an Easter egg to Luke Cage in Times Square. There's a Harlem's Paradise sign referencing the club from the Stokes family that Luke Cage takes over by the end of his show. Which shocked me. I thought we'd get a sign to Jessica Jones, to alias, private investigators. But to have a Luke Cage reference almost feels like we're definitely getting Jessica Jones if we're going to get a reference to Luke Cage. Like Jessica Jones got 3 seasons, right? Punisher got 2. Jessica Jones was the last one of those shows to air.
Yeah.
I think it was late 2019 when we got Jessica Jones.
And I do think that like Daredevil season 1 and Jessica Jones season 1 are widely considered the best of all of those.
Yeah. I would be surprised if we get Finn Jones back. I think maybe a reference to the Rand Corporation might show up somewhere in this version of New York. But I don't know. I think the other actors may come back. Kristen Ritter, I think, is pretty much I don't know if she's been confirmed, but highly speculated to come back. And Mike Coulter, we'll see. But I would love to see this world just established. The fact that they're putting this in the trailer, I think, is for us to find. They want us to accept these now. And it's very exciting. I don't know if, I'm excited for every episode of everything to get a callback.
Because you don't want to rewatch them and break them down.
No, we'll break them down. We'll get there.
No, but I just think you do get to a point where the canon weighs down the current output.
I just feel some of the arcs in season 2 of Daredevil could be better. I think you could improve on some of the stuff with the hand. You could improve on stuff with Sigourney Weaver's character in the Defenders series. All of that could be better. Elektra's arc in season 2, in which she came back in Defenders as as her character, as part of the Hand, you know, like all of that felt like lesser than what it could have been.
Yeah, I do. Sorry, yeah. I do think I think from a logical like a money making standpoint, I'm gonna put on my network executive hat here, especially because of a variety of things, including the strikes. But there's been not as much Marvel content. The easiest cash grab would be for them to canonize all of these series, because instantly people would all of a sudden, who had never watched them before, and I'm not even just talking about those, I'm talking about my favorite, you guys love it when I talk about it, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., everybody hates me for it, but like even like Marvel's Runaways, Cloak and Dagger, those are all ready-made shows that if like even a mention of, the most hardcore of the MCU fans would be like, well, time to do a rewatch or a watch for the first time and buy that merch and buy those comics. I think it's just the easiest cash grab ever in a slow year to be like, also this stuff.
I think what they need to do is like bring back whatever characters they want and just tell new stories. You can make it Daredevil Born Again, or you can make a new series called Heroes for Hire.
Yeah.
And just call it Heroes for Hire, and it can be like Luke Cage with some of these figures. You don't have to call it Defenders. Heroes for Hire is a well-known title.
We've talked about it a lot with James Gunn in how he's treating the canon in DC. And it seems like the real answer is just like, well, if we needed it, it's canon.
Yeah,
if we don't need it,
whatever
it's not.
I want, whatever I want.
That's kind of what I want them to do, right?
Yeah.
Like if John Bernthal is still playing Punisher, but they're like, we got an even better actor for X character who's not or the next Flex person is busy or whatever, right? Like they can recast and we don't blink, right? Yeah.
I want John Bernthal to be the Wolverine of this universe. I want 70-year-old John Bernthal as the Punisher
till he's 90.
I like his bones ground to dust for every time he's broken them. Just like going around being like, "You a cop? I'm gonna kill you."
I mean, Bernthal brought that hatchet to set.
That's right. It's not scripted.
He is the most Punisher I have ever seen.
He's stumbling in from his bear episode, doing it.
He's the hatchet and the bear to cut up the meat and brought it over to the other show.
Yeah, he's using that to like cut sandwiches for everyone on crew. He's
Wow.
backstage cooking for
Matt,
everybody.
Yeah.
check the tomato paste jars, Matt.
Real one.
Well, I don't want to play D&D right now, okay? A lot of I ran a poll in the chat to see how much Daredevil people watch across Twitch and YouTube. Like 60% of the audience has watched all 3 seasons.
Oh,
so there is still a little
good.
contingent
There you go.
that I've only seen like, a few of this, either 1 or 2, or even just the movies. A lot of people actually, talking about characters that might return and canon stuff. Surprisingly, to me, I'm very heartened to see that a lot of people are asking, will Echo show up? And also Ryan Anderson on YouTube saying, will She-Hulk be referenced at all? Will She-Hulk show up in this show? What do you think the likelihood? Obviously, we're getting Kamala Khan's father is going to be in this show. That's one tie-in to the mainline MCU.
Weird.
So interesting.
So weird that
I
that guy's
love him.
in
Put
there.
him in everything. I love that guy.
Do you think that if these characters show up, do they get like 1 episode arcs? Are they in it featured a little bit more?
Quick, Wong style cameos, pop in, pop out.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to show Echo because She-Hulk is such its own thing, and like you open a can of worms of like, is there a Kevin robot? But I think Echo isn't easy. It isn't easy to fit in there. I just don't think, sadly, I don't think a ton of people watched it.
Canonically, she's still off in Oklahoma, right? Did she come back? She didn't come back to New York at the end of that series.
No, she didn't.
No, she stayed.
Not that she can't. Planes and trains go both ways, but
probably some Star Trek trains if
And
What If
She-Hulk
is
is
in
like
the
not in New York either. She-Hulk is in Los
right.
Angeles,
She's West
so
Coast.
it wouldn't be crazy to me if they don't make any mention of either of them.
I think I hope Marvel has learned some lessons from some of these recent titles. And I mean, this show was produced and written and shot before the Penguin series came out. But I think what was so great about the Penguin is we didn't get a lot of cameos. It was really just a story about the characters in that world. And this world in this trailer has already given us enough great character dynamics. And that's all I need to see. I don't need She-Hulk or Echo to show up. As much as I would be curious to see conversations with those characters, I feel like they might distract from the story of the Daredevil Born Again.
With She-Hulk in particular, a lot of people pointed out there's no funny moments in this trailer.
Right.
Now that doesn't mean that over 10 episodes there won't be some funny, some lighthearted.
Yeah.
It's not all going to be bone breaking. I mean, that would get even the Penguin, which was a bleak, dark show
Yeah.
had comedy elements, right? Had lighter moments.
Yeah.
But She-Hulk would definitely tonally is a very
It
different
is,
tone
yeah.
than what this show is.
Don't you think
putting
it'd be
out.
weird to see any like CGI enhanced character on this
but you
show?
could, I mean, maybe you would see her in her human form, and she's like, "Why haven't you
Oh,
called
yeah.
me?"
Just Tatiana Maslany?
Yeah. I think it would be amazing if Ben Affleck got jealous of Jennifer Garner's Deadpool and Wolverine cameo and is just a random one-shot lawyer in another firm in
Wait,
this one.
what? Multiversal Daredevil? Gina, get out of here. Gina had too
No,
much
I
magic
don't- I
mind.
don't want him to play the same character, play the same role or character. I just want him like walking back in the background, like
A cited lawyer. They get Ben Affleck to be an unrelated.
And he's like, "I'm sorry, I
Oh.
can't take your case, but I have someone I will refer you to."
Why don't they also just resurrect dead Paul Newman to play his character from The Verdict?
I mean,
Gina?
I would love it if Ben Affleck
Do
came
it.
back and was like, wait, guys, I finally understand how to play Daredevil now. I finally get the character. Finally got it.
If Ben Affleck does show up, I hope he's Batman. Okay, yes.
We got 2 super chats. Gregory Dittrick saying, I currently have 107 episodes left in my Defenders rewatch. It sounds
yeah.
like that's a first watch. I tried when they were coming off, but fell off during season 2 of Iron Fist. Yes, there was a lot of
Okay.
TV to watch, a lot to catch up on. Mickey on YouTube sending in a super chat. I believe Punisher survived the blip and might have been active during that time. Based on the trailer, he looks absolutely defeated and broken. Could be from that, or maybe that's wishful thinking. I think this is a great point. You know, he does look very haggard, looks very torn.
But I think that's also just like on brand for Frank Castle.
Yeah.
That's
This
true.
guy probably just slept
That's
outside
true.
for a month.
He's had a lot of head injuries.
He's gone through a lot.
He got shot in the head.
He could have had just a bad holidays.
Right.
Yeah. He's like,
That's just-
seven fishes.
This is just a Wednesday for Frank Castle. Like it's pretty typical.
It does seem like he doesn't recognize Matt Murdock, though. Like
Yeah.
when Matt's like, Frank, it's me, your buddy.
I represented you in season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it, I mean, the guy who pointed out that he has 107 episodes left on a Defenders rewatch, I think it's just a point that we should remind people of. We did this in a video at some point. We made like a pie chart of just like by runtime, the total length of the MCU. And I should have had those facts and figures up with my own big pen list in front of me. And I'm sorry that I don't. But if you add just the seasons of Daredevil, I think it increases the total length, runtime-wise, of the MCU by like at least 30%.
Yeah.
If you add all of the Defenders shows on Netflix, it like triples the size of the MCU by runtime.
Worth
That's
it.
just how much. We have 3 seasons
Worth
of some
it.
of these shows. 2 seasons
And
of
these
most of them.
these are not like modern era 6-8 episode seasons.
No, 13
right?
episodes,
Yes.
and they're all an hour long.
Yeah.
If you had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., whew,
Oh,
7
I
seasons
love
of
it.
that, guys.
That's a smorgasbord right there.
And it's suddenly you have to account for a franchise that is based on continuity connections and interconnectivity. They now have to be responsible for countless hours
And
of content.
speaking of runtime, we don't have like episode runtimes for this series yet. Though we do get 10 episodes, right? Presumably.
I think 9.
Nine,
Daredevil
you're
Born
right.
Again,
9.
yeah.
It was originally like going to be even more, but they've kind of lowered that.
It was 18 and they
18.
split it into 2 seasons.
Yes, and so we are. A second season has already been greenlit. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's been shot yet.
Not shot yet.
Probably
We don't-
been written, though.
Yes, and so we don't know if we're getting that. Is that a 2026? Is that a 2027?
Yeah, maybe 27.
Who knows?
I would wager that they're seeing the hype with this. They're going to want to start shooting that second season.
But don't you
soon.
think they should shoot that this year and they should release
Yeah.
it next year?
I do
TV
think-
should not take 2 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
make. Well,
Yeah.
and 2026 is still a big question mark for Disney Plus Marvel output. We don't really
Yeah.
have any confirmed
Maybe
shows.
Vision Quest, maybe Nova.
Maybe
but other than
X-Men
that,
97 season 2.
Oh, yeah, maybe another season of
Yeah,
that.
but
Yeah.
like we don't know a lot, and none of it is confirmed. Evan, are there some other questions, thoughts?
Yeah, Sarah Hatch joined, and I think some other people asking, how much do you think we'll see of the courtroom this season? Obviously, that was part of the creative
Yeah.
overhaul, that this was maybe going to be a more
Yes.
courtroom-focused show.
Quick recap on that, right? So this show was greenlit, I believe, under the Chapek era. They shot some stuff. Some episodes came in. The Marvel execs were like, whoa. There's no fighty in this. It's all courtroom. Supposedly, like in that older version, like he didn't even start fighting crime or put on the Daredevil outfit until like 2/3 of the way through the season or something like that. They were like, oh, let's retool. They fired some people. They brought in the guy who's the showrunner on Punisher. They kind of retooled the show, reshot a lot of stuff. We don't know how much they kept and how much. But so supposedly a big onus of that was like shifting back to more combat, more Daredevil, more whatever. Because the original version was going to be like much more court procedural. There's almost no courtroom footage. This is just 2 minutes of footage. But like almost no courtroom shots in this trailer, right?
I think that original the original series struck such a good balance. Like there's an episode where you know, Foggy and Matt are defending a guy, and Matt has a great courtroom speech, and then that episode ends with like a dude horrifically throwing his face on a spike. So you got like Matt giving a Law and Order-esque final speech about the meaning of justice and morality. And then, like, the next scene, he's like, tell me where Fisk is. And the guy, like, impales himself. And it was a good... And I think a lot of those earlier ones, he was also in the church a lot, having slow, long conversations with the priest. And they did a lot of that, a lot of those long two-person talky scenes sandwiched in between the most horrific, gruesome, awesomely choreographed violence. I hope they strike that balance again. I hope our modern audience hasn't become too bored. I'm currently watching Shogun, and there's a lot of like, oh my God, this tactical discussion in a language I don't understand, and I'm reading, and then like the next moment it's like, battle! And then I'm like, yes, like give me those talky scenes followed by battle. I hope that they do more of that, as opposed to just like, well, modern audience wants just fighting for 54 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was interesting when you go back and look at She-Hulk and how that came together. That also went through a lot of creative retooling during the process. It ended up becoming a court case of the week type show. But originally they wanted it to be like a season-long court deliberation over Abomination. And it was just the way that in Daredevil season 2, at least a third of it was just the trial of Frank Castle. And then they sunsetted that arc. But that was a pretty cool arc. I think what Marvel Studios and Marvel Television are recognizing is that their fan base, their core fans who are going to watch this on Disney Plus, are, you know, maybe not as patient with just like court stuff. And the writers that they are hiring for these, not to knock the writers, but like they don't know how to make a long episode by episode court storyline like fit with what Kevin Feige and Brad Winderbaum want from a Marvel Studios story. And they can't strike that balance as well. And I think in the abstract, Kevin Feige may want a court drama or a court comedy, but he doesn't know what that actually looks like because he's been a film producer and he's never worked on like Boston Legal or anything like that.
And don't take for granted, this show will be released episode week by week. All the Netflix stuff was binge dropped.
Yeah.
And you consume it differently when I can watch 2.5 episodes in one night versus like I'm watching episode and waiting 7 days to watch the next. Each episode needs to be satisfying in a different kind of way when I have to wait a week in between them. And you want to keep the conversation around the show. Oh my God, can you believe that cliffhanger? Oh my God, episode 3. What's going to happen episode 4, right? Like, that's a different kind of writing and different kind of producing you need to do.
I mean, the trailer is definitely leaning heavy into like lots and lots of fight scenes, which are great. I think you know that original series had like one amazing sequence every episode, which was almost like a how the hell did they do that? The hallway scene, you know, that the scene with the 360 in the car where you never see the camera. And I think that they're sort of going to aim for that this time too, where people are like, oh my God, did you see that one fight sequence where he chained the dude and then a tiger roared?
Yeah, we'll see the fight choreography. I think they are striking the right tone. Some of the shot composition on this seems to be going for what I remember from the Daredevil show, but there were just some masterful sequences. I mean, Drew Goddard directed the pilot of it, right? And so I'm just kind of like curious to see if Benson and Moorhead are able to capture that.
And again, if they don't do at least one insane one-shot fight scene, I mean, that's like the things that Daredevil is kind of like, that's near the top of the list of what it's known for.
But what I'm worried about is that they're going to do the long takes that are stitched together with VFX with very clearly punctuated the transitions. Like Loki episode 3 had a long take, but they were bragging about it in the assembled how they made it documentary, and I'm like, so you just built a really cool practical set and then used a ton of VFX to put this together. What made the Daredevil hallway sequence so cool is that they used fight choreography, and they used like stunts to do this. So when the camera was going down the hallway, it just blocked the door at a specific moment, and it was like clever to figure out how they. It was enlightening to see how they put it together, and it made you respect them more.
I think Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio are so protective of these characters, and they know them so well. And they like Vincent D'Onofrio, like when it was like announced, was like tweeting, and he was like a kid. Like he was like so proud. He was so happy that people were excited that he was back. I think this is Charlie Cox's like, you know, favorite role. Like he just like loves the role so much. I think if anyone tried to make anything crappy, they would be like, we're not coming out of our trailer.
Yeah, I think, they have a pretty strong, like there was even in this Entertainment Weekly article where Charlie Cox said that this diner scene, there was in some earlier version of it, I don't know if it was the before Benson and Moorhead takeover or during, but there was like a diner scene that happened later in the season, and he like spoke up as an actor, like, hey, if they just walk away from this right now, we're so late in the story that it kind of takes away some of the stakes of their conflict, because like they're far enough along in the simmering conflict that like they would not be able to sit down and have a civil conversation in a diner. They would just strangle each other. Sebastian Stan was saying, not Sebastian Stan, I'm thinking of, I got him mixed up with Charlie Cox. Charlie Cox said like, so we restructured it to happen at a different point, and they figured out a different way to do it. But for an actor to say that and to say it to Entertainment Weekly, I think it shows that Charlie Cox had quite a bit of weight in story decisions and episode structure decisions.
Yeah.
A few other questions as we start to wrap up here.
Thank you for holding your hand up, Evan.
Oh, sorry. First of all, thank you to Basil Barrel Spinner for jumping in, giving out 20 gift subs on Twitch. Thank you so much,
nice.
Basil.
Thank
We
you.
really, really appreciate it as we kick off the new year. It's still the new year, right?
Yeah.
Lainey Boder on YouTube sending in a super chat asking about the different color suits so they have different power-ups. We saw those different cowls.
Okay. I want to talk about the 5 cowls that we see. We were half joking, half speculating. Does he just keep a trophy room of his different cowls? Do they serve different purposes? Because it's not even like in Spider-Man style, like, oh, this was the homemade one, but then this is when it got a little bit better, and this got a little better. They all look pretty professionally made.
Yeah. Some of our theories was that they have different scents. There's cherry scented, strawberry on the end there, like I think maybe it depends on what setting he's in. You know, like obviously that gold one, you're not going to want to wear it in the dead of night in the city because you'd be pretty easily spotted.
Or you blend in with those tungsten lights.
Or maybe instead of scents, it's like senses. There's 5 senses, right? Matt Murdock is blind, but maybe like each cowl enhances like a different one of his senses. One enhances his hearing, one enhances his smell, his taste, his touch, and then the last one uses Wilson Fisk's optic nerve implant technology to try to replicate vision in his head, so he doesn't have to see the world on fire.
Very interesting.
I don't know. We know the gold one was in She-Hulk. The
Yes.
black one
Yeah.
could be a Shadowlands reference.
We wore the gold one in LA because, you know, we're sunnier out here
Right.
than New York. So.
You gotta have a different wardrobe when you go to LA. You
Yeah,
can't bring
yeah.
your black pea coat and your gray turtleneck to LA.
Yeah.
You will not be able to go to
right.
Cafe Gratitude
Don't-
wearing that, my friend.
Don't you show up to the Grove with your East Coast wardrobe, okay? Get out of here. But I'm interested both to see that scene. Also, like, are there going to be 5 like full suits? Does he have 5 different
Yeah.
like wands or size or
Batons.
whatever? Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Other comments, Evan.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll wrap it up on this one as we're kind of run down on time here. But Eli Finelli asking a really great question. If Daredevil Born Again is a success, do you think Marvel will start to prioritize more multi-season long-form shows instead of the 6-episode limited series? What do we think? What do we think has to happen for them to do that?
We can hope. Yeah, go for it.
Well, big picture industry-wise, right? There's been multiple shifts in the streaming era as they're kind of all the studios are figuring out how to make it work. But one kind of recent last 2 year shift is all the streamers are putting slightly less priority on subscribers and more priority on watch time, right? Like you not only need to get the subscribers, you got to keep them on your app for longer periods of time because they're trying to sell advertising. The more hours you watch, the more ads you see, the more money they can make, right? So I think it does make sense that they would love to crack the code on how to efficiently, cheaply make more hours of Marvel TV. And certainly multiple seasons of 9 episodes is better for watch time than single season of 6 or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think they are session time, right? Like they want people to just have the app booted up on their devices, whether it's their home TVs or their phones, for as long as possible. And I think Disney has the added KPI of, does this make it less or more likely that you might visit a park or go on a Disney cruise line or buy some piece of merch or buy some other Disney product that we profit more directly from.
Yeah.
So whatever gets people to live in the world longer. So I think Agatha, honestly, this tide has already shifted. I think the lessons of the past have already been learned of just 6 episodes of something and then it's done. If we see any other future shows that are just 6 episodes, it's because they were already produced and now we're just like, we're getting them out. But I think any new stuff that gets greenlit, whether it's Vision Quest or Nova, those are going to be longer episode orders, I think. There's also, correct me if I'm wrong, Gina, you're in the WGA. Is there greater pressure on the other side of this deal to have longer episode orders than shorter ones?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's the model as it is from a creative standpoint now is not sustainable. Like you can't make a living as a showrunner doing 6 episodes of something. Like you just can't. There, it used to be like 30 episodes and then it was down to 22 and then it was 18 and then it was 15. And now I think we've seen, well, you can't go below this. I think you attract more creatives and creative types if you give the showrunner more power and those writers more power. And they don't want to do 6 episodes for half the money. They want a full season order to tell a story. So I think we'll see it sort of inch back up. I also think some of those like 6 episode orders are on things that either like got caught in the crosshairs of the strike or had other issues going on. Like I really enjoyed Echo, but I think there were other issues at play there that were like, hey, let's like make it shorter and sort of burn it off. Yeah. Now I think there's no benefit in burning stuff off anymore. I think if you're going to put the money in and bother to make something, I think they're going to be pressured to at least increase it back up to 10.
Tell that to the makers of Coyote vs. Acme. And I think like something they're still trying to figure out, but I think increasingly they're getting better at it, answering the question, why isn't this just a movie? I kind of thought that a little bit. To spoil what we're going to talk about in a couple hours, Skeleton Crew, I really enjoyed. Part of me kept thinking, why isn't this just a movie?
No. I loved watching it every week.
Yeah.
Fair. But like, I think like something like Daredevil, which has a proven episodic history to point to, is like very easy to be like, well, that's why it's not a movie, because it tells a great story over however many episodes, right?
I think if it's a vibe versus a story is the difference.
Yeah.
And I think Skeleton Crew is a vibe. I think Agatha was a vibe. And I think Daredevil is a different kind of vibe.
Yes.
And
Also,
you want to
you
hang
get-
out with them every week.
You get way less bang for your buck if it's a movie. Like that's a movie that people are going to be talking about for a couple months at most. But if it's a show that lasts, I mean, if this season of Daredevil goes well, then it will get a 2nd season, a 3rd season. People will talk about that for years.
Tell that to the makers of Coyote vs.
Stop telling us to talk to the creators.
They won't return our phone calls.
They also got killed for tax reasons. Okay. Come on the show, you cowards. Will Forte, come on the show. Okay, I think, you know what? We're going to be talking a lot more about Daredevil in the coming weeks. And boy, are we going to be talking about it starting March 4th, baby. Every episode that drops, we'll have an after show here on the Breakroom. Erik and Jessica will probably be doing reactions on the reaction couch. We'll have full after shows. There'll probably be Q&A shows. Obviously, great breakdowns on the new Rockstars channel. It's going to be all Daredevil all day.
Yeah, Daredevil season starts right now.
Yeah.
Like it starts
Keep an
right
eye out
now.
for that 1st season breakdown coming out. It should.
That's
be,
right.
It should
Yeah.
Yeah,
out
the
in
end of
next-
this month will be the first
Yeah,
one.
in the next
Gina's working on it
next
now.
few weeks, you guys are going to see some Daredevil season 1 OG breakdown.
Perfect to go with your Netflix rewatch. We'll have the accompanying exhaustive breakdowns for you to watch there too. Thank you again so much for watching. Thank you to everybody that was active in the chat on Twitch and on YouTube, all the super chatters, all the commenters. Thanks again to Magic Mind for sponsoring today's episode of The Breakroom. A reminder to get an exclusive 45% discount on a Magic Mind Focus and Sleep Bundle pack. Just click on the link in the description below and make 2025 the year you build your mental wealth and mental resilience with Magic Mind.
I reclaimed my brain by downing this.
Hell yeah.
And you can go back and watch every little sip. I did not cringe. I savored the sip. and I enjoyed it, and my brain is back in my own head.
Now, everything I did was cringe, but Erik never cringed. There's an important distinction there. And again, thank you to the makers of Coyote vs. Acme. Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel on YouTube, on Twitch, everywhere we are. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.